Yo, yo, yo. Hey, what's up, boys? So I was fortunate enough to go to the media tour, and I saw a lot of really cool stuff, man. I got to play the game, and got some nice footage. I got some tooltips, got a couple dungeon runs, and yeah, man, overall it was a really good experience, and I really enjoyed talking with Yoshi. I was surprised that I got to do that. But anyway, before we get into this, I just want to say that everything that like tooltips and footage and all that it's all subject to change. They were pretty adamant about that. I guess because like 2 years ago, when everyone was flipping out about how bad White Mage seemed, like based on potencies and that kind of stuff. I guess they went out of their way to tell us that it's not like that this time. So if you see anything that's a little suspect, a little concerned, Frog, it's subject to change and nothing is 100%. So with that being said, I want to talk about tanks today, how they change tanks, and overall I think the way that they change tanks and how it's going to work is going to be really awesome. Who knows? I could be wrong. I don't know. But just based on my first impression, I didn't get to play very long. None of us really did. So if something is like really wrong with the game or something and no one caught it, it's just simply because we didn't get to play. Like, we didn't get to play that long. So there was a huge amount of information to like try to absorb, and like my tiny rock brain, it got as much as it could. I tried really hard. But anyway, I released another video that has all the tooltips. Some of them are missing, which apologies again, but to be honest, I wanted to play the game more than I wanted to record tooltips. So I kind of like, I could have went a little slower, but for all the tooltips that are missing, I'm going to have a Google Doc or an Imgur album in the description, so be sure to check the description. But anyway, okay, so I got a little cheat sheet here. All right, so the first thing that I want to talk about is the tank stance. Let's see. All right, so basically how the tank stance works now is it doesn't give you a damage penalty. Let's see. Yeah, so the tank stance, all it does is increase threat, and that's it. And it's off the GCD. So ideally what I'm thinking is that when the tank pulls, he's gonna pull in tank stance and pretty much remain in tank stance the entire fight. If there's a swap, then the other tank, basically both tanks I think are gonna stay in their tank stance, because if the tank pulls and then there's a swap, there's kind of no reason for the main tank, who is now the off tank, to turn their tank stance off, because Shirk still exists. So you're gonna give the other tank all that threat, like 25% more threat. I'm pretty sure they buffed it, by the way. So it's 25% more threat. So this will actually help with mechanics, with like annoying mechanics where you have to be 1 and 2 on threat. So there's kind of no reason to ever turn off tank stance unless your other tank just really fucking sucks and you're catching up on threat, or I think that's it. I don't know. But my point being is that yeah, there's like no downside to turn off tank stance. Also, the tank accessories real quick. Let me show you guys this. The tank accessories are different now as well. But yeah, so the strength and the bit are now, a lot closer. Well, actually, this is where they used to be, because yeah, back in the day, Vit was always a little higher than strength. I know they mentioned that we're gonna get 2 materia slots, but I think that's on Savage gear, or it could just be that this is just the demo version and they don't have to. But they did mention that the tank accessories, if I remember correctly, the tank accessories were gonna have 2 slots. Well, actually, all accessories and the belt. So the changes to the tank accessories right here, because I think they know that trying to get crafted is kind of dumb. Yeah. So hopefully this fixes this situation. So this is good news. But I really like the tank. Okay, so all right. So going back to the tank stance thing, it does, in my opinion, take away a little bit from like prog or just from the combat in general. I was a huge fan of playing defensively in your tank stance, and then trying to, as you progress or learn the fight, you start to take away things, right? So you take away stuff that you like overly defensive stuff that you don't need, right? So the first thing to go boom was tank stance. Like, okay, well, I don't fucking need this here. Well, now this pretty much simplifies it. One way you could look at it is they're gonna lower damage, or based on the CDs they're gonna like add damage like to the encounters. But all of the tanks utility, all the tanks can help each other now, and the tank CDs are really good. That was one thing. Okay. Yeah, so basically, I don't know. I was kind of torn on this when I played it at first. But I don't know. To be honest, I didn't really notice much of a difference when I ran the dungeons. Yeah, I don't know. I do still think it takes away a little bit from the dynamic of tanking, but it didn't have as big as an impact as I thought it was going to. So overall I'm okay with the change. I like as of right now, I still kind of wish that there would be tank stance and DPS stance, but I think for the I think for the community this is a smart change. I think it's good. I think this will help more players, and I think that the only reason why that I feel the way I do is maybe because I'm a little biased, because I happen to enjoy that aspect of tanking. But some people, they really don't think about it that way, or some people, they don't care. So I think overall it was a good change. It's just for me personally, I was a big fan of, you know, the tank stance and the DPS stance. But anyway, so yeah, let's look at tanking cooldowns. Let's see, let me pull up my sheet here. Okay, so this right here is I made up a cheat sheet of all the cooldowns, the utility, and what I believe to be somewhat of a rotation or opening rotation. Again, this is not 100%. I could be extremely fucking wrong about these rotations, but this is just from a first glance, from a first perspective, this is what I happen to see. I'll go into each one, but before I go into the rotations, I want to talk about the more important shit. I want to talk about their cooldowns, and I want to talk about the utility. So some moves have been changed. Some moves have been taken away. But overall, I think it's really solid. Like, I'm really happy with all four tanks. But anyway, we'll just get into it. Okay, so basically, every tank has a 2-minute and a 3-minute. Or I'm sorry, a 90-second and a 2-minute. A 20% and a 30%. Yeah, that's what. 20%, 30%. So Rampart Vengeance for Warrior. Rampart Sentinel. Sentinel was changed. Thank God. Sentinel being at 3 minutes, in my opinion, was always awful. The extra 10% never mattered. So Sentinel got a pretty good buff, I feel. Gunbreaker, same shit. Nebula, 30%, 10 seconds. And Dark Knight Shadow Wall. Alright, so basically that's the standard. That's the standard. Every tank has this. Every tank has Rampart. Rampart's a roll ability. And Vengeance. Every tank has a 30%. So now you look at the extra shit. So Raw Intuition got an insane buff. Now it acts more as like a Sheltron. So this is 20% for 6 seconds, and the cooldown is only 25 seconds. I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good, man. These two are also still affected by Shake. Thrill of Battle, in my opinion, also got a buff. Cooldown's 90 seconds. 20% HP. Also 20% healing. It still heals you for 20% as well. And it lasts 10 seconds. So it lasts, so the duration was nerfed by 10 seconds, but the cooldown was reduced by 30 seconds, and they added convalescence. So that's really good. That's pretty good. So I think Thrill is, yeah, Thrill's even better now, in my opinion, and Raw Intuition is crazy now, considering that it's on a 25-second cooldown. It's you can think about it kind of like a Rampart Sheltron, kind of, maybe. Home Gang is still the same. Just Invuln, 3-minute cooldown, 6 seconds, still really solid. Equilibrium, since there's no more TP, it's just a straight heal. So it's still really good. It's just a free heal. Shake, pretty much same shit. Actually, let me 90-second cooldown on Shake, and this is a new ability called Nascent Flash, or Nascent Flash, however the fuck you say that. So basically, how this works is you target a party member, and when you target a party member, the warrior gains Bloodbath. More or less, the warrior gains Bloodbath. And the party member receives 10% mitigation and receives 50% healing of what the warrior heals. So, oh, this is also on a 25-second cooldown, and this shares a recast timer with Raw Intuition. So basically, when you use Raw or Nascent Flash, they both go on cooldown. So this is really good for when you're not tanking. This is good for when you are tanking. But because the cooldown is so small, you can pair this up with, like, you know, in a release or something like that, and your HP or gain is crazy. So, okay, I want to talk for a second about this duration here. So this 6-second duration. Okay, so in the demo that we played, the cooldown timer actually says 25 seconds. But that's a typo. There's no way that this is gonna. Okay, all right. So, but when I tried it, when I actually put the ability on a teammate, it lasted 6 seconds. So I don't know if that 6-second duration is gonna change. So I'm not sure. But for right now, it's 6 seconds. Even though the tooltip says 25 seconds, there were some other tooltip discrepancies. Because they said one thing but they did another. But again, I want to stress this is the development footage, you know, so it's not 100% accurate. Okay, so I'll talk about DPS after I go over all the cooldowns, because in my opinion the cooldowns are most important. But so Warrior is pretty tanky. Has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cooldowns that it can use. 5 personal cooldowns. Equilibrium, kind of but not really a cooldown. Kind of but not really. It's going to be really good to pair with Home Gang. Especially now, since you can use it whenever you want, because before, well, you know, in Stormblood you were typically in Deliverance, so you weren't able to get the heal from it. So this, I think it's safe to say that this received a very, very small, you know what, it's a biased buff, okay? Equilibrium received a biased buff. So this is really good that you can now use this with Home Gang and not really worry too much without being in you know, Defiance, because this works regardless. Shake is obviously utility, still really good utility. It's pretty much always going to be 12%. I find it extremely hard to believe there's going to be a situation where you cannot pair Raw Intuition with Shake. So this shield is, it's going to be rare when it's not 12%, because of how low this cooldown is. But I mean, it might come up, you know. You can still use it with Throw. You can still use it with Vengeance, and then you have Nascent Flash, which this seems really strong. It gives them a flat 10% mitigation, so it's an intervention plus some healing. So this is, you know, free 10%. So yeah, this is really good. I think Warrior CDs are really, really strong. I think that their utility is really good too. Yeah, so as far as the cooldown and rotation department, we don't have like, you know, shake it off your hot bar, none of that bullshit meme shit, man. You know, all the cooldowns pretty solid. Yeah, overall, I really don't see anything wrong. Yeah, so anyway, so that's Warrior. All right, so moving on to Paladin. Okay, Paladin. Ooh, I was excited to play Paladin, let me tell you. Alright, so Paladin has Rampart Sentinel. You know, 20%, 30%, 90 second, 2 minute. Now, Sheltron, you know, Sheltron is nice now. It just blocks everything for 6 seconds. Fuck it. Just block everything for 6 seconds. Yo, that's awesome. That's awesome. Still costs 50 gauge. Hollow Ground. Hollow Ground is still the same. Last 10 seconds, invul, and 7 minute CD. Cover got nerfed. But let's be real here. Cover deserved a nerf. Okay, so cover is 2 minutes, and it costs 50 gauge. Paladins are going to have to actually think about how they spend their gauge, I feel, because there's a lot of gauge spenders. Cover costing 50 gauge, you're going to have to at least think about it now, instead of just, you know, Sheltron, you know, Sheltron whenever, Intervention whenever, and Cover whenever, you know. So now it's the gauge is stretched a little more thin. So okay, in the tooltip of Cover, it says doesn't work on some attacks, and I know that there's like certain weird stuff that it already doesn't work on, like multiple tower explosions, like that kind of stuff. So maybe that's why that they put that in the description. I really couldn't test it, to be honest, because I mean all we had was like a dungeon. So I don't know exactly what that means, but now it's in the tooltip. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that now it's in the tooltip. So that's it. So I don't know if it's going to only work on some stuff or if it's still going to work pretty much the same. But they removed the free Rampart, so you no longer get a free 20% mitigation. That's gone now. So if you use Cover, you need to use something else with it. But because Sheltron's so good anyway, also Rampart, basically it will... Cover's just not as good as it used to be, but cover was a little bit overpowered, man. So I think the nerf was warranted, but it's still really good. It's still really good. Still covers magic damage and physical. So yeah, we'll see. But Veil is pretty much the same. Guess I could put this on here. Yeah, Veil's still 2 minutes. 30 seconds. Oh, I already had it. Never mind. Yeah, the shield lasts 30 seconds still. Pretty much Veil remains unchanged. Clemency remained pretty much unchanged. There wasn't a cooldown on it. It wasn't instacast unless you have Requisite up, but we'll talk about that later. And if you target someone else, it still heals the Paladin for 50%. So yeah, so Clemency is still really good. Well, really good for prog, but so Intervention is still the same. It procs with Sentinel, procs with Rampart, so still the same. Still costs 50 gauge, and Passage is still the same as well. 2 minute cooldown. Yeah, 50% to the party, blocks all attacks. Okay, so basically they have 1, 2, 3, 4. They have 4 CDs. And they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 utility. Yeah, so Paladin CDs, man, are really good. Sheltron's really good now. But okay, so Gunbreaker. Alright, so Gunbreaker has Rampart, Nebula, same shit. 20%, 30%, 90 second, 2 minute. Camouflage. This is their what I'm calling like a unique ability. So basically the unique abilities are like Camouflage, Sheltron, Raw Intuition and Dark Mind. Those are the kind of like unique personal CDs or whatever. So Gunbreakers is really weak, actually. I don't really like Gunbreakers very much at all. It's parry rate plus 50% and then 10% mitigation. That to me, so I have a couple issues with this. One, 10% is kind of low for 90 seconds. 10% is kind of low. I think that they are greatly overestimating this parry rate by 50%, because if anything's magical, this automatically is just gone. So, I mean, even on physical, it's still not guaranteed, right? So, this is kind of like a better version of Bulwark. Yeah, kinda. It's kind of like a better version of Bulwark. Oh, which, by the way, they removed Bulwark, so you no longer have Bulwark. Instead, you just have Sheltron. Sorry, I should have covered that earlier. So this, I think either this needs to be on 60 seconds or this needs to be buffed to like 15%. Because I think what they're counting on is for you to parry a majority of your attacks. And the parry combined with the 10% is probably going to be somewhere around, I don't know, like maybe 30% on physical. But the issue is that... See, this is why I really don't like cooldowns that are damage type specific, because this is, I don't know, man. I think this parry rate, I think is just bad. I just think that this portion of it's bad. The 10% mitigation is okay, but the parry rate's bad. So I think that this should, I think that this is going to get a buff in the future. I don't think they're going to keep this the same. I mean, it may not get a buff right away. It may take them 4 years, but I think this is I think this will be changed. Okay, so this is the invul, Super Bolide, or however the fuck you say that. Okay, so I have a couple issues with this one as well. Okay, so when you use this, you go to 1, and you can't die for 8 seconds. And the cooldown is 7 minutes. Okay, so a couple things here. One, I don't like that it purposely puts you to 1. Like, when you use this ability, your HP goes to 1. So, boom, right off the bat, you're guaranteed to heal. Now, normally that's not going to matter. Normally that's not going to matter, because when you use these type of abilities, you're expecting to go to 1 anyway. But just the fact that it puts you to 1, because sometimes when you use these abilities, you don't exactly drop to 1. You know what I mean? Like, you have like a low damage roll. Maybe you have like a random shield. So then you maybe live with like, 5% HP. So, basically, for being on a 7-minute cooldown, making your HP go to 1, I don't know about that. You can't die for 8 seconds. So this is obviously just a shitty hollowed ground. Now, I value low CD timers extremely high, and the fact that this is 7 minutes is I don't know, in my opinion, it's not the greatest. So I think something will change with this as well. I think something will change with this as well, because this seems, it's not bad. Like I don't think it's bad. If I was gonna rate it like 1 out of 10, I'd probably rate it like, I don't know, a 4. It's not bad, but I don't think it's like mediocre, like average. I think it's like I think it's in between shit and average, I guess, if I was going to explain it. So it's meh, I guess. So I think this will be changed sometime. I think this will be changed. And again, none of this is 100%. So the build that we played, you know what? Maybe this 7-minute cooldown's really only 5. Maybe it's really only 5. Who knows, man? Who knows? But I'm just saying, currently, I'm just speaking, from what I played, from what I saw. Okay, so this move, Aurora. Okay, this move is fucking awesome. It's a targeted hot. A 200 cure potency, lasts 18 seconds with a 60-second cooldown. This is fucking awesome. This is like a targeted equilibrium, but it's a hot instead, which is really, really awesome, man. It's just a free heal. This move, I think, is really, really fucking good. I think this shit is really good, man. Put it on the tank, put it on yourself, put it on another party member. Just really good, man. It's just free. Heart of Light is also really, really good. 15% damage mitigation for the entire party for 15 seconds. This also includes yourself. And the cooldown is 90 seconds. Yeah, I think this is really fucking solid, man. I think this is a really, really good raid buff. And I think that when you min-max it, you can put this into your tanking rotation and get a free 15%. When you know you're not going to need this for 90 seconds like for the party. So yeah, I think this is really good. Heart of Stone. Heart of Stone is also really good. This is on a okay, so this is 15% flat damage mitigation. So it's already a buffed intervention. Now, this adds the BS shield. Okay, BS. All right, this is Brutal Shell. All right, so Brutal Shell will give, you know what? I'll just let me find it here. I'll just pull up Brutal Shell right now. I'll just pull it up. Okay. All right, Brutal Shell. Okay, so what this does is delivers an attack with potency 300, restores own HP, and then it creates a barrier of the nullified damage. Or, I'm sorry, creates a barrier which nullifies damage. So basically, this is like kind of a mini Adlo. Kind of a mini Adlo? Can we go as far as to call it a mini Adlo? Maybe. Anyway, so what this does is this adds that shield. And that shield is up quite a bit because you use Brutal Shell a lot. This is your 1-2-3 combo. It goes Keen Edge, Brutal Shell into Solid Barrel. So this is the second hit. This is like Storm's Path or Soul Eater. It's like one of those moves, but this does like double duty because not only does it heal you, but it also puts a little shield on you, and you can give that shield to another party member. And the cooldown is only 25 seconds. So this is really good. I think Heart of Stone is really good support. Like I think that while Gunbreaker lacks a little bit in the self mitigation department, I think its utility is awesome. I think Aurora's badass. I think Heart of Stone is really good. I think Heart of Light is really good. So these three abilities here they're good shit. They're good shit. This, my opinion, this could be a little different. But overall, I think the utility that Gunbreaker brings is better than the actual cooldowns. But this is just from first glance, so who knows? Maybe some of this stuff will be changed. Okay, so Dark Knight. All right, Dark Knight has Rampart, Shadow Wall, same stuff. Now it has Dark Mind. Dark Mind was nerfed a little bit from 30% to 20%. Last 10 seconds and a 60-second cooldown. I don't believe that the nerf was justified. And let me explain why. Because this only works on magic. This doesn't work on everything. I think that if you're going to have a damage-specific type, it better be ridiculously strong. I'm not saying 20% on a 60-second cooldown isn't good. I'm just saying only being magic, I think the nerf was I think they could have left this the same, basically. I don't think that keeping this at 30%, yeah, I don't think it would have mattered. But yeah, so I think they should have kept this at 30%. Although I'm a little biased and I don't like damage specific cooldowns like I was saying earlier. So in my opinion, if this was 15% damage, just straight damage, you know, 15% on all damage, I think this would be even better. But it's not, unfortunately. For some reason, they really want to have Dark Knight be the magic tank. I don't understand it. I don't understand why. Because the other tanks, they take magic. I mean, pretty much just as good. But whatever. Dark Knight, magic tank. Okay, whatever you say. See, you know, whatever. TBN got a huge buff. TBN is 25% HP shield on any target. So currently it is 20% on yourself and 15% on another party member. TBN is now 25% flat on anyone. Also, the way TBN works is different when the the shield pops. Oh, sorry, it's still on a 15-second cooldown, by the way, so that didn't change. Maybe I should put this in here. Yeah, so it costs 3,000 mana to use this ability. So basically right now everything is 2,400 mana. So you Dark Arts, 2,400 mana. TBN, 2,400 mana. Basically, in Shadowbringers, everything will be 3,000 mana. So I'll go into Dark Knights, like how it generates stuff in a bit, because Dark Knight did see a huge rework in as far as its damage and as far as its resource gain. But pretty much now the conversion is you spend 2,400 mana, you get 140 potency worth of shit, you know. So your Dark Arts, you know, that kind of stuff. But now it's 3k mana and it is 500 potency. So your mana is, I would say, more important in Shadowbringers than it is now. If you fuck up a, you know, if you fuck up a Dark Arts, or if you fuck up a, well, I don't know how you can fuck up Dark Arts, but anyway, my point being is that if you mess up, it's only 140 potency worth of punishment, but now it's going to be 500. At least I believe so. So the buff to TBN was really good. And instead of granting you blood, it grants you a Dark Arts, and I will go into that later on how Dark Arts works, because there are some stuff that is about this, about the rotation, that is good, but some of it is a little convoluted and I think unnecessary. Okay, so anyway, Living Dead, still the same. It's still shit, at least in my opinion. I think Living Dead is the worst invuln. It's still on 5 minutes. Still on 5 minute CD. I do think it is the worst. I do think it is worse than this one, but because this one you don't have to heal, whereas Living Dead, this is the biggest problem I have with Living Dead, is that you have to heal the Dark Knight to 100%. If you had to only heal like maybe 50%, this ability would be so much better. I actually talked to Yoshi about this. I talked to him. I said from both sides, from a tank perspective and a healing perspective. As a tank perspective, I find myself trying to avoid using this move, and as a healer perspective, I hate healing this move. I'm not the best at healer. I would say I'm above average at best, maybe, probably, but so maybe I'm missing something here. But Living Dead it's just really annoying in comparison to the other tanking invulns, at least in my opinion. But this remains unchanged. I talked to Yoshi about it, and he gave me the same thing, where the quote-unquote job identity. And I told him, I said, hey man, speaking from a tank perspective and a healing perspective, it is the worst. I think that they also overvalue Hollowed Ground as well, because he said that he thought Hollowed Ground was overpowered, and I don't agree with that. I don't think it's overpowered. I think the 7 minute CD is, I mean, during those 10 seconds when you're invulnerable, I mean, it's really good, but in most cases, home gang is better. So, and just simply because it's on a 3 minute CD, at least my opinion. But anyway, for Living Dead, I talked to him about it, and hopefully this gets buffed. He said they'll look into it, actually. So hopefully, I don't even know if buffed would be the right way to explain this. Just changed, like, you know, like I suggested, maybe just 50% healing instead of 100. I just think that whenever you use this is like a black hole for other jobs or resources. Like, basically when you use this, you're doing one of two things. You're either dumping GCDs to deal with this mess, or you're dumping off GCDs. Regardless, it feels like you're just wasting shit whenever this happens. But then again, if you're not using it anyway, then it's not a waste. But if you're not using it anyway, like the chance of you not using a free off GCD heal, I don't know, man. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Dark Missionary. This is 15% magic to the raid. This includes yourself. 15-second, 90-second cooldown. Again, I don't know why SE is... They have this... I don't know why the Dark Knight has to be a magic tank. I don't understand it. Because if you look at Gunbreaker, this is just straight better. In every way. 15% damage for the party. 15 seconds and 90 seconds. Why does this exist? I don't understand. I don't understand. This is just straight worse. So, I don't get it. But anyway, hopefully this gets changed because in my opinion, this is the weakest raid utility, but we're in the step in the right direction. We're in the step in the right direction. Dark Knight finally has some fucking raid utility. This doesn't count. This doesn't count. Finally, we got this. So we're a step in the right direction. Yeah, so, okay. So 1, 2, 3. I don't know if you can count TBN as a personal cooldown. I don't know if you can ever use TBN and just TBN without being BIS or on farm. So I guess on farm this can count as a personal cooldown, but I guess in prog it can't, because if you pop this during prog and that's the only thing, you're probably gonna die. Probably. I don't know. 25% HP is HP shield's pretty good, but I don't know if it's that good. But I guess for the sake of whatever, we'll just call it, because you're probably going to have an Adlo too, or some type of other shielding. So we'll just say that I guess it does count as a personal cooldown. Although I wouldn't recommend just using this, but Dark Mind is like 50-50, so they have 1, 2, 3.5. So we'll go with 3.5. 3.5 personal cooldown. Well, I guess 4. So Living Dead, 4.5. So Living Dead. Dark Missionary is one utility. I guess this is, does this count half utility? So 4.5 personal, 1.5 utility. I guess we're going with that. I don't know where these numbers are coming from, but whatever. But yeah. So anyway, so those are the cooldown and the utility. If I was gonna compare them, I would say Warrior has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Warrior has 5. Paladin has 1, 2, 3, 4. Gunbreaker has 1, 2, 3, 4. And Dark Knight has 1, 2, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. Okay, so it has 4.5. And as far as utility, Dark Knight has 1.5. Gunbreaker has 1, 2, 3. Paladin has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Warrior has 1, 2. Yeah, so it looks like Warrior has the most single target, or the most cooldowns, like for themselves, and Paladin has the most utility. And then Gunbreaker and Dark Knight kind of fall like kind of fall in between. Guess it also depends on how you look at it, but I don't know. This is, yeah, so this is kind of what I noticed as a first impression. Okay, so yeah, we can go over, yeah, okay, so we'll go over rotations. Okay, so yeah, we'll go over rotations. I guess I'll talk about Dark Knight first, since it received the biggest change. So you don't have, okay, so first off, you don't have Dark Side anymore, or, well, it's not a toggle, it's, you don't toggle it, and you don't use Dark Arts in the same way. So basically how it works is, they added new abilities. This ability called Edge of Shadow and this ability called Flood of Shadow. And what Edge of Shadow does is it's a 500 potency off GCD that adds 30 seconds to Dark Side. It has a, let's see. This costs 3k mana, and this does as well. So how this works is Edge of Shadow and Flood of Shadow, they both give you Dark Side. And they cost 3,000 mana. And Dark Side, to my knowledge, is still 10% damage. The tooltip and job gauge description was really vague. Actually, I spent quite a long time trying to find the exact wording on Dark Side, and I was unable to. So what I did was I just went and I hit a random mob with hard slash over and over again, and I did about 36 to 3,700 damage. But with Dark Side, I did around like 4k, maybe 4,100. So I'm thinking that Dark Side is like 10%-ish. That's the best I could do. That's the best I could do. So basically, whenever you use this ability, this off GCD, it automatically gives you Dark Side. Now, a Dark Arts, and I don't know why they decided to keep it named Dark Arts, but it's a little convoluted at first. But when your TBN pops, you get a Dark Arts. Now what that Dark Arts does, it, you know what, I'll just pull up my, let's see here, let me pull up my video so I can just show you. Okay, Dark Knight in a dungeon. Alright. Trying to get the Dark Arts pop. Let me get to a good part. Well, do I ever use Dark Arts? I mean, fucking... Does he ever do it? Oh, maybe not. Alright, let me look at my other video. Okay, so I found out that the 25% shield is actually really fucking big. It's really fucking big, man. All right, let's see if I. All right, let's see here. I swear to God, I use it. Okay, there it is. All right. I'm telling you, in this dungeon, it was hard to pop, man. All right, so basically, it works like this. Okay, so I'll pause the video. Now, this purple gauge here is your Dark Side gauge. Now, I don't know why they felt it necessary to give you a Dark Side gauge, because it's almost impossible to drop Dark Side. Whenever you use one of those abilities, as I said, Edge of Shadow is the single target and Flood of Shadow is the line AoE in front of you. Whenever you use one of these abilities, it gives you 30 seconds. So that means that you have 30 seconds to use it again. That's it. That's just how you get Dark Side. You just use that ability one time in 30 seconds and you're good. That's it. That's all you need to do. Now here is what happens when you pop a TB in. Okay, boom. You see this? Where's my? Okay. See this gold thing here? Okay, now I want you to watch at the bottom, because basically, let me get this bar to go away. All right, so right here, oh man. Okay, so on my oh, go away bar, please. Okay, so basically on my 6 and my control 6, you'll see that says 3k mana, or excuse me, so that control 6 says 3k mana. Okay, so that's the Dark Side ability, which is Flood of Shadow. Yeah, so, or wait, oh sorry, that's Edge, apologies. My 8 button is the Flood of Shadow. So basically when I use that, you can see that it refreshes my Dark Side just like that. And I'll do it one more time. So when I pop that 8 button, refreshes my dark side. So it's literally impossible to drop this. Now, as far as the dark arts goes, basically the TBN shield is 3k mana, and when you use it, you know, you obviously have to expend the 3k. And what it does is it gives you a dark arts, and the dark arts gives you a free proc of the Flood of Shadow or Edge of Shadow. So basically, you use 3,000 mana to give yourself a shield. When it procs, you are refunded that mana to put towards the next Flood of Shadow or Edge of Shadow. So that 3,000 mana that you used, it works very similar to how it is now, but instead of blood gauge, it gives you mana. Think of it like that. Whenever your TBN pops, it gives you mana in a sense, because that mana is then used for a Flood of Shadow or an Edge of Shadow. So that's why earlier I was saying that that the 3k mana is going to be around 500 potency worth of MP or whatever, because whenever you spend 3,000 mana, it's going to be put towards 500 potency. So all a dark arts is, so with all that being said, all a dark arts is it just this thing right here lights up gold, letting you know, hey, I have a free Edge of Shadow or Edge of, what is it? Or sorry, Flood of Shadow or Edge of Shadow. That's all it means. Your TBN pops, you get a free mana ability. That's it, which then gives you more dark side. But I really don't see why this gauge is necessary. This gauge is really, it makes it sound a lot more complicated than what it is. I don't know why they just couldn't make it a buff. Like, why couldn't dark side just be a buff? I mean, it's almost impossible to drop anyway. Every time you use these abilities, it gives you 30 fucking seconds. So if you were to go 30 seconds without using one of these abilities, that's like you shouldn't be playing this job anymore kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Also, just since we got the footage up, they changed a couple more abilities. Salted Earth remains the same, but Abyssal Drain. So Dark Passenger no longer exists. Abyssal Drain now is kind of a Dark Passenger. It's a free Dark Passenger, if you will. And also Unleash is now a thing. It does not require mana. If you look down there, there's no mana symbol next to Unleash, which is on key number 7. If you look above key number 7, it's Control 7, which is a new ability. Basically, all the tanks get an AoE and then a combo from the AoE, and that combo replenishes their resource. So for example, Dark Knight has Unleash into, I don't even remember what this skill is called, whatever, the second AoE, the second AoE, and what it does is it gives you 20 blood gauge. So in a sense, the entire combo gives you 20. And it doesn't require mana. Abyssal Drain no longer requires mana. It's just off. It's just an off GCD. Cooldown is, let's see, 60 seconds, I believe. But let me double check. Yeah, I believe it's 60 seconds. So Abyssal Drain is just free. It's just a free AoE, and it heals you for a cure potency of like 200. And it's just, just AoE. So that's free. So your AoE abilities are the Unleash, the comboed into Unleash. You still have Quietus, but Blood Weapon is completely different, and Delirium is completely different. I'll get into those in a second. Carven Spit is still the same. Gives you mana, and it's a 3-fold attack at 200 potency. It should be the same. You obviously can't Dark Arts it, so it's now 600. Well, I guess the use of it is pretty much the same. You still use it off GCD. They didn't change that, but you just can't Dark Arts it, so now it has a flat potency, and also gives you mana, and it gives you 600 mana. The mana gains are, okay, so we're working within a 10,000 mana pool. So Dark Arts, or I'm sorry, your mana abilities cost 3k. So like Blood Weapon, your mana regenerating abilities, they give you They give you 500 MP and 600 MP. So a Siphon Strike will give you 600. Delirium, let's see. Delirium is changed, but Blood Weapon's also changed too. It does not increase your attack speed anymore. It doesn't increase your attack speed anymore. Now what it does is it gives you 600 MP per attack. So basically you can think of it like this. Blood Weapon is now a free 3k mana. Think of it like that. Doesn't matter what GCD. You can use a spell. You can use an actual weapon skill. You cannot use an ability. But for every GCD that you do, you get 600 MP. So because you want to treat Blood Weapon like you want to use it at the very end of your combo, right? Or sorry, your GCD counter. So then that way you get 5 attacks. So basically you treat Blood Weapon like in a release. You get 5 attacks. Doesn't matter what attack, because each attack gives you 600 MP. Each attack gives you 10 blood gauge. So basically you want 5 attacks, and what your Blood Weapon does, you can think of Blood Weapon as giving you 1 Blood Spiller or a Shadow Clone. Basically gives you 50 blood gauge, and it also gives you 3000 mana. So it gives you a free Blood Spiller / Quietus / Shadow Clone, and it also gives you 3k mana, which is a free 500 potency. So Blood Weapon is quite a bit different now. Delirium. Let me go into Delirium. Delirium is literally in a release. Let's see here. Let me see if I use it right here. Okay, so there I use Blood Weapon, and as you can see, each attack is giving me 600 MP, but not the off GCD Carbon Spit. Stalwart Soul is the combo of Unleash. When did I use this? Okay, so I'm gonna use Delirium now. All right, so Delirium's up. Now, Delirium makes your Blood Spillers and your Quietus cost nothing. So, oh, and it also gives you MP per attack. So Delirium is basically in a release, and Blood Weapon to a certain extent is like in a release. You want to use both of them at the very end of your GCD timer, and you want to make sure you get in 5 attacks. You do not have to use them in success. You don't have to use them at the same time, and you don't have to use them like right after another. They don't really, as far as I can tell, they don't really synergize at all. It's just one does one thing, the other does another thing. I can say though that you don't want to use them together if you have if you have more than 50. So if you can avoid using them together just to be safe, it probably would be for the best, because if you have 50 blood gauge or higher, and you do like a Soul Eater combo or something, then you're gonna waste some gauge. And wasting resources on Dark Knight is much more punishing in Shadowbringers than it is in Stormblood. If you overcap by like maybe 1 or 2, basically the entire when you accumulate your gauge, when you accumulate your mana, it is much more important now than it's much more important in Shadowbringers than it is now. If maybe you overcap on mana by like 200, okay, not such a big deal. Maybe you overcap on gauge by like 2 or 3, okay, maybe not such a big deal. But now it's a big deal. So resource management is I would say much more important in Shadowbringers than it is currently. I think that'll be a huge shift for a lot of Dark Knight players, because now it's well, in my opinion, almost impossible to fuck up, whereas it's going to be very easy to fuck up. So if you were wanting like more difficult, I guess, resource management or more punishing, I guess, then this is going to be for you, because in my opinion, the resource management is a lot more punishing in Shadowbringers than it is Stormblood. But I didn't get to play Dark Knight a lot, so maybe I was messing up, you know what I mean? All of this is, none of this is 100%, and again, these are all just on my first impressions. But anyway, sorry, I almost called it in a release. Delirium. I'm gonna hit play here, and I just hit my delirium, so it's at 10 seconds. Now I'm gonna spam quietus. Okay, there's 1, there's 2, 3. I'm just slamming my dick on my quietus button as hard as I possibly can. All right, boom, and we're done, and that's it. That's it. That's all delirium is. It's just in a release, but for Dark Knight, and Blood Weapon is very similar. So real quick, just to recap here, you have, I'll just go ahead and let this play while I talk, but real quick to recap, you have your dark side right here, which is activated by Flood of Shadow, which is 8, or Edge of Shadow, which is 6. When you use one of those abilities, it gives you 30 seconds of dark side. Soul Eater gives you 20 gauge, as you just saw. Your AoE combos are Unleash and Stalwart Soul. Plunge remains unchanged, except for now all of the gap closers are on charge abilities. I'll briefly talk about charge abilities, but basically if you don't know what charge abilities are, I'd recommend checking out the live letter again, but I'll talk about it a little bit. But basically a charge ability is it stores 2 CDs worth of shit. So since Plunge is on a 30-second cooldown, when it reaches the 30-second, it keeps ticking down, because now you got 1 charge. When it hits 30 seconds again, you have 2 charges. It stops. So it stops at 2, but you can store 2 charges. So basically you can keep 1 in your pocket for if you need it. So you use 1 for damage, hold on to it for a gap closer maybe, and if you don't, just use it for damage again because it keeps recycling. So you can kind of think of it as 2 different, or as like a double cooldown, you know. Let's see. Trying to think if I missed anything. Oh, the only way that you can accumulate blood gauge is Blood Weapon, Delirium, and Soul Eater. That's it. When you use Delirium, each Quietus or Blood Spiller gives you 10, and when you use Blood Weapon, each GCD gives you 10. Now it's very important because under Delirium, the only ability that you should be using is Blood Spiller. Well, I guess, or Quietus in AoE situations, but Delirium is almost identical to in a release. So this is going to be quite a bit different for a lot of Dark Knights like Mentality, you know what I mean, that are specifically just used to Dark Knight. If you play all tanks, this change won't really affect you too much. You might fuck it up a couple times because you're like, oh shit, that's right, Delirium's in a release. But then it's but those are the way that you gain. Oh, and how you gain mana. So Siphon Strike gives you 600 mana, and whenever you use Delirium, each GCD gives you 500 mana, and on Blood Weapon you get 600 mana. So you can think of whenever you use Delirium, you get 2,500 mana back, and you get a free Blood Spiller. So Delirium is 2,500 mana, 500 MP for 5 attacks, and a free Blood Spiller because 5 attacks, 10 blood gauge. Now I am in this dungeon, so as you can see here, this number 6 is like, you know, darkened out. This is the Shadow Clone. Unfortunately, the dungeon was only level 73, so I'm not able to use this ability. And if you also notice, my plunge is not a charge plunge. That's because you don't get the charge, or that's because you don't get the plunge trait till after 73. So unfortunately, I spent too much of my time in dungeons when I should have been spending on random mobs. But you know what? Here's another annoying thing, man, is they didn't have training dummies. How can you not have training dummies? So when we were practicing this, we had to actually go around and fight open world mobs. You know how hard it is to test a fucking opening rotation on mobs in the open world, especially on DPS, I just gave up on Monk. I'm like, fuck it. I can't even keep my Grease Lightning stacks in between mobs. I'm trying to like do all this shit and I'm like, fuck it. I'm just done. Nope, not wasting any more time. I spent all this time trying to do that. Nope, ain't gonna waste any time. So anyway, so that's why my footage, it kind of sucks, man, because we honestly didn't have access to much, if you know what I mean. Like, it would have been really cool to have a level 80 dungeon to really test the traits and the abilities. I mean, I'm not saying this isn't good, but I'm saying is there's a lot of stuff that's lacking, unfortunately, and so for that I apologize. But anyway, so I'm not gonna play this boss fight because I'm really bad at this boss. Okay, I'll play this boss fight. This fucking frog does this thing where he puts these water things out, and I swear to God, man, I get hit by almost every single one of them. Okay, dude, these are so hard to dodge. Those are so hard to dodge. Oh my God, the Dark Knight is struggling. Oh, the plunge, dude. Oh no, dude. Oh, okay. But you remember this. When you guys do this dungeon, you guys are going to eat shit too, okay? All right? Anyway, okay. So back to the sheet here. This is the opening rotation that I first noticed. So one of the things that I noticed is it doesn't really matter what GCD you use Blood Weapon on, as long as you get in 5 attacks and you don't overcap on gauge. I could be completely fucking wrong on that, but basically, you want to TB in yourself because it's free. It's basically free. So you TB in yourself, and then if you're pulling, you're not, whatever, unmend. I would actually recommend using unmend anyway, because I believe the trick is going to be around the same time, around 4 to 6 seconds, or I'm sorry, 4 to 6 GCDs in. But I could be wrong on that again. Yeah, you just start with hard slash, then siphon, TB and break, question mark, potion, question mark. I don't know, we'll see. But the most important thing is you do Edge of Shadow here, which is EOS. Edge of Shadow into Blood Weapon. And this will get you, so this will drop you to 4k mana, and so you're still okay. You're still okay on mana. I mean, you have one extra, or one Edge of Shadow left to do, but you're gonna get a free one anyway, and you're gonna generate quite a bit of mana back over the course of the next GCD. So plus you want to use this as soon as possible. I don't know if it's possible to use Edge of Shadow before the hard slash, but if it is, I think you should use it before the hard slash. But the reason why that I put it after the hard slash was simply because I don't know if you're going to be in range. So like when you unmend, and then as the boss is moving towards you, you're moving toward the boss, I don't know if you'll clip or not, if that makes sense. So I just said, whatever, fuck it, just place, I mean, it's really only 10% on a hard slash, so it's like, it's only 20 potency. But whatever. So Edge of Shadow, Blood Weapon. Then you do Siphon Strike, and this Siphon Strike will give you 1200 MP instead of 600, because the 600 from Siphon Strike plus the 600 from Blood Weapon TBN will hopefully break. Hopefully it'll break. Soul Eater will give you 600 MP because of Blood Weapon. Also will give you 30 Blood Gauge because of Blood Weapon. So Soul Eater gives you 20 Blood Gauge normally, but then it gives you an additional 10 Blood Gauge because of Blood Weapon. Same with Siphon Strike, it'll give you 10 Blood Gauge as well. Salted Earth into Delirium, and as you can see, the 1200 MP plus the 600, so now we're back up to 58. We're going to do Plunge here. Remember, Plunge has 2 charges, so you're going to do Plunge and then Living Shadow. Living Shadow takes minus 50 Blood Gauge. It's a 2-minute cooldown, by the way. I actually put it on here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a 2-minute cooldown. I should probably add Sorry, I'm like really not as prepared, I guess, as I wanted to be. Yeah, so this will take 50, and then basically, so right here you're gonna do delirium. So there's gonna be a moment in time where you have both blood weapon and delirium up. So your blood weapon is gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 GCDs. Your delirium will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3 of the GCDs are gonna overlap. So if you notice this huge increase in mana here, and actually, you know what? This should be 20. This should be 20 blood gauge right here. So this should be 2, 4, 6. Yeah. So this should actually be 60. Because your blood weapon is going to give you 10 plus your delirium is going to give you 10. I'm almost positive they stack. Yeah, I'm almost positive they stack. So you're gonna plunge Living Shadow, then you're gonna do another plunge Carven Spit. I guess depending on mechanics, you won't use this. You might hold this. I don't know. I kind of just went on like a CD timer. So but since this is a charge, you can use Carven Spit before plunge too. It doesn't really matter. They're both on the same off GCD. But this Abyssal Drain is free. This EOS here is from the TBN that popped all the way up here. So this is your free one, and then you get another 3K here, another 3K here, another 3K here, and these 2 GCDs are still under delirium, so you're still gaining blood gauge. Yeah, so this should be 1, 2, 3. So you should have 30 extra gauge here, right here. Yeah, so it should be 50. And then basically that's it, as far as what I can tell. You're going to use like a blood spiller. You're going to use like an extra blood spiller. But basically that's it, at least from what I can tell. Like I said, this was just my initial. Basically, as I'm like looking at the tooltips and playing the job, I'm like writing down potential openers on my phone, or I'm like typing it in, and I'm like, okay, I think this is close, I got it, maybe. And I just basically copied that and did to this, because like I said, we didn't get much playtime, man. We really didn't get much playtime. So I tried my best to absorb as much information as I could, especially for Dark Knight, because they changed so much. So this opener might actually be complete trash. I have no idea. But we'll find out. We'll find out. But this was my very first initial thought that just like jumped off the page at me or whatever. So I did potencies. I did potencies for all the tanks, but they're not very accurate. And the reason why they're not very accurate is because I don't know the potency on clone. It has to be more than 550, but I can tell you this, when I use the clone, I must have got the stupid one, because it did like a single target quietus. So I'm like looking at the clone, I'm not even attacking, I'm like looking at the clone, I'm just like, dude, he's like hard slash quietus, abyssal drain, like his rotation is like the stuff of legends. Okay, so I don't know. And the second clone that I spawned, he did different moves, so I don't know if the moves are random. I don't know if they're from a, like, you know, if there's like a pool of moves that they just draw from, or if every move is just random. I'm not sure. My knowledge on the clone is extremely limited. All I know is its cooldown and how long it lasts 20 seconds, or sorry, 24, and it costs 50 blood gauge, and it's 2 minutes. So and I don't know if it gets dark side. I don't know if dark side is applied to the clone or not either. So clone 1210 pot. I don't know. I don't know, man. So I decided to not really display the potencies that I came up with, as far as like the total potencies here. Just simply because they were like so inaccurate that yeah, like I think that everything besides the clone was pretty accurate, but But yeah, I don't know. I don't feel confident enough in my in my small brain math to really display it. So I just decided against it. But basically what I got was Dark Knight's opener was pretty good. Dark Knight's damage was pretty good. I'll just say that was pretty good. So if you're worried about Dark Knight damage, I wouldn't be worried about it. Well, just based on what I got, but then again, I could be completely fucking wrong. Yeah, so let's go to Gunbreaker. Okay, Gunbreaker. All right, I thought it was a lot of fun. Let's see. Let me pull up the video real quick. Okay. All right, so Gunbreaker is based on this. So here's the gauge. All this symbol is the tank stance, which is called the Royal Guard, and you have two cartridges, which are 2 charges or 2 stacks or 2 resources, however you want to look at it. There are 3 ways to expend these resources. There is a move called Burst Strike, which is the Gunbreaker version of Fell Cleave. There is another move. I don't have it listed on here because it's an AoE move, but here, let me see if I can find it in the vid. But outside of dungeons, you're not really ever going to use it. But let's see if I can find it here. So basically, just like the Dark Knight Gunbreaker has an AoE combo, which is it's called Demonic Slice, yeah. So or Demon Slice. So this is Demon Slice, just your AoE, and then it combos into, if you look at Control 7 here, combos into this, which is okay. Actually, Faded Circle is the cartridge expenditure. So you see I have a cartridge there, I use Faded Circle, it's gone. So you have Burst Strike, which is single target, Gun's version of Fell Cleave, Faded Circle, and then you have the third one, which is a cartridge combo, and I'll get into that in a second. As far as this goes, you just have your combo, and this gives you a cartridge. And every time you complete the AoE combo, it gives you a cartridge. Okay, so this is a good time to talk about the ammo combo. Alright, so as you can see, I have two bullets here. Use one for Faded Circle. Alright, now that GCD right there, it's called Gnashing Fang. Here, let me back it up just a little bit. So I'm going to use Control 4, and that's the combo. Okay, Control 4. Now, what this does is this procs another ability. This ability right here, which is Alt 7. And this ability is, let's see here. So Gnashing Fang, this procs Jugular Rip. And Jugular Rip is an off GCD. So Gnashing Fang is the beginning of the special the cartridge combo. And when you use this, it gives you a buff called Ready to Rip. And this means you can use this. So you're ready to fucking rip. So you go Gnashing Fang, Jugular Rip. This chains into the next combo, which is Savage Claw. And it's like ready to tear. So then you use Abdomen Tear. And then this chains into Wicked Talon. And it... What is Wicked Talon? Is it Ready to Gouge? I think it's right. Okay, anyway, it's ready to something. All right. So you go Gnashing Fang, Jugular Rip. Savage Claw, Abdomen Tear. Wicked Talon, Eye Gouge. So it's really cool because the combo procs something else. So it's a cartridge combo that procs something else each time you use the GCD. So if you rewatch the footage when Yoshi was playing Gunbreaker, he fucked up. Because what he did was he used Gnashing Fang and didn't use Jugular Rip. So he missed out on I'm sorry. That's like elitist, right? Like that's just like mean, right? Okay. All right. Anyway, it's just something I noticed. I was like, no, Yoshi, please use the off GCD. No. Anyway, so it goes Gnashing Fang. Yeah. So Gnashing Fang, Rip, Claw, Tear, Talon, Gouge. So if we go to the footage, I'll play it real quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So actually, wait, let me see. I think that was it, but all right. So boom, proc, and boom. Now you don't have to pop that. The very last proc, you don't have to pop right away. So you can hold on to it for a second, you know what I mean? But yeah, so that's pretty much the special ammo combo, or the cartridge combo, and then your basic 1, 2, 3, which is Keen Edge, Brutal Shell. Remember, Brutal Shell gives you that shield, and then Solid Barrel. Every time you use Solid Barrel, you'll get a cartridge, and again, you can use those cartridges on the Faded Circle, which is an AOE, Burst Strike, and you can use it on the special ammo combo or the cartridge combo, which is these 3, and these are your procs right here. So the DPS rotation is pretty simple. It's pretty simple. It's just you just spam 1, 2, 3, and then don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but Gnashing Fang is this is on like a 30-second cooldown, I believe. It's like 30 or 35 or something. I think the tooltip actually said 33 point something, but the tooltip was wrong. So yeah. Oh, and as you can see it here, let me back this up a little bit. Okay, so right here, you can see that on number 1 is Rough Divide, which is the gap closer, and it's a charge. So you see how that there's a 1 down there. So Plunge is the same way. It's just you don't get it till later, but Gunbreaker gets its charge gap closer a little sooner, but you know it doesn't matter because you know you're gonna be level 80 anyway. So, but anyway, so that's pretty much the DPS rotation. You just have an AOE into a second combo AOE into a combo spender AOE, and then your basic rotation is 1, 2, 3, and then it's Burst Strike, and when Gnashing Fang combo is up, use Gnashing Fang combo. That's pretty much it. So, Gunbreaker, I spent a lot of time talking about Dark Knight, just because Dark Knight changed so much, but Gunbreaker is pretty simple. But it was fun to play. But I know that's subjective because, you know, what I find fun, you know, you might not find fun, or what I find difficult or interesting, you know, other people won't. But I liked it. I thought it was simple but fun. I think this combo is really fun to use. The Gnashing Fang, Savage Claw, Wicked Talon. I think it's really cool that hopefully in the future, maybe that, like, I don't know, maybe Warrior will get like a special combo. Well, I guess Warrior doesn't really use stacks anymore, but hopefully the other tanks get something like this, because this is a really neat idea. You store up a resource and you use that resource to use a combo. I don't know. I just think it's cool, man. So anyway, there's a couple other skills I want to talk about here. So Rough Divide is the gap closer. Yeah, Rough Divide is the gap closer. Bow Shock. This is an off GCD. Think of it like a Super Circle of Scorn. Bow Shock is a Super Circle of Scorn. It's an AoE. This off GCD, and Blasting Zone is this is an off GCD single target, and it's just 700 potency. So this is like bow shock, but it's not a dot. It's just a straight damage. And this is single target, and it's only on 30-second cooldown. Lightning shot is just the like the tomahawk, the unmend, the shield lob, whatever. Oh, sonic break. Okay, I want to talk about sonic break for a second. So sonic break is supposed to be the dot. It's supposed to be the scourge of Gunbreaker, or the goring blade of Gunbreaker, if you will. But sonic break, it's really weak. Like, let me pull up the tooltips here. Gun. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, lightning shot, just the it's the tomahawk or whatever. Okay, so danger zone upgrades into blasting zone, so that's why I don't have danger zone written on here. But yeah, so let's look at this for a second. Burst strike. Burst strike is only 450 potency. I'm pretty sure that there's not a yeah, so in the traits here, it doesn't upgrade. Yeah, that trait, improved danger zone, that's when it becomes blasting zone. But so basically this ability, burst strike, this is the resource ability. I think its potency is kind of low. I think 450 potency is kind of low for this ability. I bring it up because the move I wanted to talk about was Sonic Break, which is this ability. Sonic Break, it's 100 potency, but 50 with 15 seconds. So I think like this is like barely worth using because it's only 350 potency total. At least I'm pretty sure. So this is this ability is kind of underwhelming. And so is Blasting Zone. Or I'm sorry, Burst Strike. So is Burst Strike, and so Sonic Break is the dot. And I think it's a little underwhelming. I think it needs to be buffed slightly. And Burst Strike is also the it's like the Gunbreaker version of Fell Cleave, and I think this needs to be buffed as well. I think 450 potency is a little on the low side, but I'm not the best with math, so maybe I'm wrong on that. But yeah. But anyway, so those are the two abilities I think that they need to be buffed a little bit. So the rotation I came up with, the opening rotation I came up with is I just put lightning shot in here just in case you're pulling, but basically it's just your 1, 2, 3, and like I said in the Dark Knight, I believe the trick is going to be up in 4 to 6, but who knows? I could be wrong. I just kind of made this not based on raid buffs because I have no fucking idea when the raid buffs are going to be up and what is going to be up. So I have no idea. So this is just purely I'm just trying to find the most potency of this job, kind of thing. No Mercy is the buff, is the damage steroid, and No Mercy is 10% damage for 20 seconds on a 60-second cooldown. I think that this needs to be changed. I think that this is low. This is really low because Fight or Flight is 60 seconds, 25 seconds, and it's 25% damage. So literally everything about Fight or Flight is better than this. So I don't know why it's only 10. But I mean, we're a little concerned here. We're a little concerned here. We're a little concerned here, and we're a little concerned here. But anyway, so these cooldowns are more or less universal, right? If it's a 10-second cooldown, you get 5 GCDs. 20-second cooldown, you get 10 GCDs. 25-second cooldown, you get like 12 GCDs. So as far as that goes, it's kind of universal. But anyway, so I pop No Mercy before Sonic Break, and then you do Sonic Break before Burst Strike. I don't know if it matters if you do Burst Strike first or second. I just put it second because neither one of these break your combo, or at least I'm Well, I think Sonic Break does, but you're not going to use this till after you get an ammunition anyway. But I'm pretty sure Burst Strike doesn't break your combo, but Sonic Break is just a dot, so it doesn't have a combo. But the reason why I put Burst Strike second was because maybe Trick goes up like after. So if it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be Burst Strike. So, but like I said, I don't really know the timings, that kind of stuff yet. But No Mercy, you're gonna get 10 GCDs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you need to make those the most potent GCDs as possible. The most, yeah. So Sonic Break, dot, Burst Strike, ammo expenditure or cartridge ability, Blasting Zone into Bow Shock, which would be Blasting Zone 30 seconds, 700 potency, Bow Shock 1 minute, 650 potency. Then you're gonna do your special ammo combo, which is Gnashing Fang. You're gonna, since these don't have a cooldown, since these procs don't have a cooldown, you're gonna use them second. You're gonna do Rough Divide to get the charge to start to cool down again. Into Jugular Rip, then Savage Claw into Bloodfest. Let me talk about Bloodfest for a second. All Bloodfest does is give you 2 charges. That's it. That's all it does. Just give you 2 charges. Let's see. Oh shit! Actually, hold on. Sorry. This is the. I had like 3 different sets of these. Actually, let's go with this. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, you want to use Bow Shock here because you want to give yourself 2 charges. So Rough Divide into Jugular Rip, and then Bow Shock into Abdomen Tear, and then this Rough Divide, you don't have to use here because let's say there's like an upcoming mechanic where you're going to need a gap close or something. I don't know why you would need a gap close when tanks get arm's length, but for whatever reason, let's say there's 2 gap closers, I don't know, then you can actually save this. You don't have to use this here. But I just put it here because I don't know, I'm a greedy, DPS thirsty person, I don't know. But then Eye Gouge, and then it's pretty much just Burst Strike into another solid barrel combo and then Burst Strike. So this No Mercy buff gets your entire special ammo combo. It gets 1, 2, 3 Burst Strikes, and it gets your dot. So I'm pretty sure the No Mercy activation here is accurate. But yeah, I don't know. This is just what came to me first. I can say this about the DPS on Gunbreaker. In comparison to the other tanks, it is extremely low. We're definitely concerned. We are definitely concerned about Gunbreaker potencies, unfortunately. But I just want to remind everyone that this build is not final. It's not 100%. So these potencies, like this might be wrong. You know, Burst Strike's potency might be 550 instead. Sonic Break's potency might be, you know, 850. You know, who knows? But currently, the potencies that I came up with and the rotation that I came up with, and again, maybe my rotation is just shit. I spent a while trying to figure out how to make this better. Like my initial impression was pretty much was this, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I might be wrong, or it might be that the potencies are just low. I'm not sure, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see when the actual game comes out. So I wouldn't be like super concerned until the actual, you know, the release of Shadowbringers. But currently, the potencies of Gunbreaker need to be buffed. Not on every move, just some need some buffs. But yeah, like I said, Gunbreaker, it's pretty, at least I found the rotation to be pretty simple. Found the opening to be pretty simple, but I could not have any idea what I'm talking about too. I mean, I'm pretty sure I do, but who knows, man, we'll see. Anyway, yeah, let's move on to Paladin. Okay, yeah, let's talk about Paladin. So Paladin's combos, I think Paladin's combos are really, really, really interesting. So, okay, Paladin's combo pretty much remains the same actually, but they made they have a new really cool move called Atonement. So more or less your Fight or Flight and your Holy Spirit, they're pretty much the same, with like very small differences, but Atonement is new, and Confidier, or however you say that, is also new. I have two different rotations here, because I'm not sure which one you'd use. I don't know. Then again, it just depends on trick attack. Like, so basically, I don't know if you're gonna want to do Requisite first, or if you're gonna want to do Fight or Flight first. Let's move this over. Okay. And the reason why is because, like I said, I don't know when raid buffs are going to go up, but basically this move here, Confidier, is it's an 800 potency, so it's like a super Holy Spirit that's also AoE. The new move, Atonement, is a 550 potency move that you use 3 times in a row. So basically how this works is, let me pull up the footage. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, Goring Blade. Goring Blade does a lot of damage now. I actually got a buff, and I got a pretty good buff. Yeah, so it does a lot of damage now. Well, I guess it did a lot of damage before, but anyway, so Royal Authority, it now gives you 3 stacks of Sword Oath. This is really cool because this new move here, which is Atonement, it uses 1 stack of Sword Oath per activation. So more or less, this Atonement spam replaces a Royal Authority combo. So instead of going like Goring, Royal Authority, Goring, you'll go Goring, Royal Authority, Atonement 3 times, Atonement spam, and then back into Goring. So this is really, really cool, man, because just the different ways that Paladin does damage is very interesting. It does damage. So basically, it does damage with a dot. So it does damage with a dot. It does damage with a basic combo. It does damage with a spammable combo, and it does damage with magic. So to me, that's just really interesting, man. It's just really cool how this is designed. So that's why I said that the basic rotation is pretty much the same, except for they made it a little more interesting with the Atonement. Paladins also have a gap closer now, which is Intervene. So I'm sure a lot of people have been waiting for that. And Intervene is just like Plunge. And it's just like what the Gunbreaker one was called. Can't remember. Rough Divide. Yeah, so it's pretty much the same. 200 potency on all of them, off GCD, and 2 charges. But yeah, so this is basically the combo. It's pretty much identical to what it is now, except for these 3 Atonement here are would be where the Royal Authority is now. So instead of doing 2 Royal Authorities, you do Royal Authority into 3 Atonement, and then you go back into Goring, and then you do Requisite and your Holy Spirit spam and Confidier on the last. And let me see here. Okay, so let's talk about Confidier for a second. Okay, so this deals unexpected damage with a potency of 800 to target and all nearby mobs to it. It can only be executed while under Requisite, and it fades upon execution. So basically, when you use this move, it takes away your Requisite. So that's why you use it last. So then if you look at the sheet again, so that's why you do Requisite And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then boom. Because you're only going to get one more cast anyway, so it might as well be this one. And then the other rotation is very similar. It's just you use Requisite first, because I don't know if you're going to want to get this under raid buff sooner or not. Both rotations deal pretty much the same damage. I think the thing that would separate these rotations is raid buffs, but I think both are really fine either way. If you do this one though, your requisite is still under fight or flight, which, let's see. Yeah, so still under fight or flight. It actually has a, they buffed this to 550. And also Requisite makes your spells instant. So that's really, really good. Okay. Like, that was one thing that always annoyed me personally on Paladin, was you would use Holy Spirit and you'd have to sit there and cast. I'm more of a melee player, so I'm not really a fan of casts. So when I had to cast, I didn't really like it, I guess. The 1.5 was okay, but yeah, like I said, the instant cast is much better. Let's see. Yeah, so basically both of these pretty good. It's, like I said, it's pretty much the same. I guess there'd be another here, but yeah. Yeah, but these are pretty much the same. But like I said, I don't know if this one's going to be better for raid buffs or not. I don't know if you want to get an 800 potency ability under like Trick or something. Maybe all that stuff falls off by the time you're down here. I'm not sure. But anyway, so yeah, Paladin's rotation is actually, it's pretty much the same, except for this interesting atonement spam here, which I think is really cool. I think it's really cool. When I was playing around with it, I liked it. I thought it was good. And I don't know. I just think it's really cool that the different types of way they deal damage. You know, like I said, they have a dot, they have a basic combo, they have a proc or a stack type, and then they have magic too. I just think it's really interesting. I'll pull up some dungeon footage real quick. Okay. So I can kind of show you Paladin's AoE. Paladin's AoE is quite good. They have two different types of AoE. So they have just the normal. Okay, so Prominence, that ability there. Basically, you have Total Eclipse. So you still have Total Eclipse, and then you have Prominence, which is like Unleash into Stalwart Soul into, you know what I mean? So it's basically a two-step AoE combo, and it gives you mana back. Now, this is the really cool part, is your Requisite, there's a new ability that's an AoE. It's kind of like an AoE Holy Spirit. So it's called Holy Circle. So you use Requisite, which you get the buff here, and then you spam Holy Circle. And so it's cool because you have a magic AoE combo and you have a physical AoE combo. I know I'm casting right now, but I think you get the Requisite buff that makes it instant later, like after level 73, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, Circle of Scorn, still pretty much the same. And then you have this AoE combo here. I'm not using my gap closer because I'm on Paladin and I forgot that I have one. Excuse me. Yeah, but pretty much same shit. All the tanks pretty much do the same thing on combo, or on AoE combo. Unfortunately, I don't have footage to show you Atonement. Atonement's number 5, and you don't actually get access to Atonement until after level 73 because you can't acquire Sword Oath stacks, or you don't have the ability or whatever. So that's a little unfortunate, but pretty much Paladin AoE works exactly the same as the other tanks, except for they have spammable ideally you want to use your Requisite first because your AoE combo gives you mana back. So you want to use that first. And you just use Requisite into Holy Circle. Oh, look at that cover on the NPC, dude. I didn't believe they were going to do the mechanic. Okay, anyway. Oh, which by the way, oh my god. Let me tell you, okay? These NPCs, they don't do much damage, all right? Ooh, if you do the trust system, you're in it for the long haul. Let me tell you, we're talking a nice, solid 25 minutes, 30 minutes in. Dude. The trust system is rough. Let me tell you, it's rough. But anyway, going back to the sheet here, it's pretty much it. Paladins, pretty simple, man. Talked a lot about Dark Knight, like I said earlier on Gunbreaker, but it was just because they changed so much about Dark Knight. But Paladins, pretty much the same, except for this, which I really like. And Gunfighter here is really cool. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Paladin. Yeah, let's do some more of it. Okay. All right. So Warrior. A lot of Warriors stay the same too. Let's see. Besides, like, you know, just like potencies being buffed, like across the board, like every 1 is now 200, every 2 is now 300. Besides that, Warriors gained their Infuriate received the biggest change. So now Infuriate, it has 2 charge, has two charges. It grants 50 rage, and it also grants super rage abilities. Now the 2 charges means that Warrior gets a free 100 rage at the start of the battle, because the charges well, at least in the demo, they charged outside of battle. So we get a 50 rage, but you know, because we have 2 charges, we have 100. So I think that of all the tanks, I believe Warrior will still pull, and the reason why I think so is because you get a free onslaught, and you get a free equilibrium at the start of the fight. So that's a lot of extra threat. I mean, Warriors don't have to pull by any means. All the tanks can pull just fine because of the tank stance, but Warrior, I believe, is the only one that has free enmity abilities outside of maybe like Circle of Scorn, but I can't remember if that, I guess I could check the tooltip. But yeah, so I think that Warrior having free onslaught, free equilibrium will still pull, but honestly, I don't think it's going to matter, because the tank stance, the threat increase on the tank stance in the demo was nuts. It was crazy. It was either crazy or the NPCs didn't do any damage, which, you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it wasn't as crazy as I'm thinking. But anyway, it's pretty much the same. Storm's Eye gives you still gives you 10% damage. Let's here, let me pull up the tooltip actually. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so unfortunately, Berserk is... Unfortunately, this still exists, so if you're looking to level a future Warrior, this is going to be awful, but I promise you, when you hit level 70 or level 80, it gets a lot better. But if you can deal with this while leveling, trust me, it's worth it. Yeah, so Storm's Path remains pretty much unchanged, gives you 20 beast gauge. 380 potency versus the 400 potency from the other jobs, but keep in mind that Warrior gets Eye, gets Storm's Eye, which is 10%. So ideally, this is going to be, you know, like, you know, 418 or something like that, or whatever. Let's see. I mentioned the thrill buff, Vengeance. Vengeance got nerfed a little bit to 10 seconds. It used to be 15, but it was justified because there's no reason Vengeance should be 5 extra seconds over Shadow Wall. So, although I wish they would have made all the 2 minutes 15 seconds instead of 10, but whatever, we'll take it. You know, whatever. Oh yeah. Yeah, so Storm's Eye is still gives you 10 gauge and increases damage dealt by 10%. So that's still there. I kind of wish that Mithril Tempest is just the AoE version. So now you'll do Overpower, Mithril Tempest, and this gives you this is actually really good. It not only gives you 20 gauge, but it also extends your Storm's Eye, which is awesome. Which is awesome because, you know, since Warrior's been playable, it's been really annoying to like have your eye, you know, drop off, have your buff drop off while you're like AoEing packs. But it doesn't really matter in like raid settings, but it's just kind of like a quality of life thing, I guess. Yeah, Fell Cleave's pretty much still the same. Infuriate charges 2 and grants Nascent Chaos, which gives you the Super Fell Cleave and the Super Decimate. Yeah, so I mentioned the raw intuition change. Equilibrium still the same. Decimate still the same. Shake is still the same. Upheaval got buffed. Upheaval got really buffed. It no longer is HP dependent. Thank God. That's really annoying that it was HP dependent. I don't know why that they put HP dependent moves or on tanks. Like, why would you put an ability, an offensive ability, on a job that is supposed to take damage? I don't get it. I don't understand. But now it's off, and now it's a flat 450 potency, which is really good. Yeah, so Upheaval is even better now, or, well, it's going to be better than it's ever been. Onslaught, with all the tanks getting gap closers that are 200 potency and absolutely free, I really feel like they just should have done the same for Warrior. I really like only being 100 potency and costing 20 rage is, I mean, I guess the recast is good, I guess. I think I'm just grasping it. You know what I mean? It's just, I really think that this should be changed. If anything, this should give you rage if it's only 100 potency, because yeah, I don't know, man. I guess you would really only use this under inner release, and really only use this if it's going to save you a GCD. I mean, I'm sure if it's going to save you. See, but here's another thing, right? But arm's length is in the game now, so this is another reason why this ability, it just loses value. Like, it's going to be way less valuable than it is now, because if arm's length works on, I guess there's some stuff that arm's length couldn't work on, like maybe if they force it or something. So I guess it's good in those situations, but the point of arm's length is to make it to where you don't need to use a gap closer. I think if you don't need to use a gap closer, then why this should give you rage. If it's only going to be 100 potency, it should give you rage, or just make it like the others and not cost anything at all. So I'm not saying they're going to, but I could see Onslaught getting a slight buff just to get it in line with the other tanks. I think this is a thing of Stormblood that they didn't really think about, or they didn't have time to think about, or they didn't test it, or they didn't think about it. Maybe they just, oh, Warrior already has a gap closer. Let's just get Paladin a gap closer. Let's just make them all the same. Okay, there we go. And then they kind of forgot about this. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, we'll see. Inner release is still the same. Crit direct hit. When I tested in the demo, my Fell Cleave did around 12k, and my crit direct hit Fell Cleave did around 24k, give or take 1,000 maybe. So I think that the crit direct hit combined is still somewhere around 2.0. I had, the amount of crit I had was 2,293, I believe. So I had a little bit less crit in the demo than I do on my character now. So the crit direct hit formula is about the same, I want to say. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But it appeared to be about the same. Still 10 seconds, still 90 seconds. And yeah, so that remained unchanged. Nascent Flash, already talked about. Okay, Chaotic Cyclone. Basically, this is the super decimate, 400 potency. This also is. Oh, here's a very important thing. These super moves will always crit direct hit. So when you use Infuriate, it transforms your decimate into a Chaotic Cyclone, and when you use Infuriate, it transforms your Fell Cleave into Inner Chaos. So these moves always crit direct hit. So you do not want to use them under Inner Release. So actually, you don't want to use Infuriate while Inner Release is active. And I'll get to that in a second when I go over the rotation. But basically, Warrior Burst got, I want to say, 1 to 2 GCDs more. So they gain 1 to 2 GCDs, depending on your Infuriate timer. Because remember, you can charge your Infuriate now, so you don't have to use it. You don't have to use it right away. So you can actually store it and use it for raid buffs or, you know, that kind of stuff. You don't get use of some raid buffs, obviously, like crit, you know, stuff like that. But like damage, raw damage, like Brotherhood was in the demo, Trick was in the demo, Tether was in the demo. Not saying that you should give the Tether to the Warrior or anything. But you know what I'm talking about. All that stuff was in the demo. So damage based stuff you can save your Infuriate for, which is really good. So it's going to increase your burst by 2 GCDs. Well, around 1 or 2 GCDs. You know, depending on the fight, you know, whatever. But on average, you're going to get an Infuriate out of spamming in a release or Fell Cleave. Yeah, so Inner Chaos is pretty fucking good, man. It is a 900 potency crit direct hit. All of these abilities reduce the recast on Infuriate, which is really good. So 900 potency crit direct hit is pretty spicy. It's pretty good, man. So overall, Warrior stayed pretty much the same. Just got a super Fell Cleave, a super Decimate, and got some utility, which is really good. Honestly, I couldn't ask for more. Go into the sheet here. Let's see. So the opener I came up with is virtually the same, except for you get a free onslaught here. So you get this free onslaught, and you're gonna have 2 charges of Infuriate. So you're gonna Infuriate once here. You're gonna onslaught, and potion here, maybe, possibly. Not sure. And then so your first Infuriate usage is right here. Now, this is really important. If you use Infuriate and then you use Infuriate again before you use your super Fell Cleave, it will eat your super Fell Cleave. So what I mean is when you're using, you know what, I'll just let me just pull up the footage, the video real quick. Let's see, Warrior, Dungeon, and boom. Okay. All right. So, okay, here's. All right. So let me. You know what? When do I actually use Infuriate? Okay, here we go. All right, now, as I'm running up, you'll see. Let me pause it real quick. So I have two charges of Infuriate right here. Now, keep in mind, this is level 73, so I don't have access to the Super Fell Cleave, but I do have access to the Super Decimate. Now, 9 is where my Decimate is. Watch when I use the Infuriate, it actually changes this icon. So, I'm running up. I don't care if the NPCs take threat, because I want to get my eye up. Fuck the NPCs. Okay, so when I used Infuriate there, right after I provoked, so right there, boom, I use Infuriate, and then it turned this Decimate into a Super Decimate. Now, look at this buff right here, this Axe buff. Now, this Axe buff means in the next 30 seconds, so I have 30 seconds to use either a Fell Cleave or a Decimate. Well, I guess in low level, Fell Cleave doesn't eat it, but speaking from max level. So this is the buff you get that turns your stuff into super moves. If you use Infuriate again, it will just refresh this buff. This buff doesn't stack. So if you use the buff and then not use a super move, you actually, the next time you use Infuriate, you just lose the, you know what I mean? So you don't get two of them. So whenever you use Infuriate, you want to be sure that the next GCD you use, or if you don't want to overcap or whatever, you want to use your super move before you use Infuriate again. So like when I used it, changed this, I got the buff. Here's me being bad. Okay, there's my eye. Now everything's good. I'm just like, fuck this mob over here. I don't care what you're doing. I'm getting my eye up. Okay. All right, so that move that I just did was, here, let me back it up just a little bit. All right, so I got my eye. There's overpower right there. And then this is Mithril Tempest. This gives me 20 gauge. I had 70. I went up to 90, and it also extends my eye. So it does two things, so it's really good. So Mithril Tempest is really good. Yeah, and again, just like the other tanks, you have, you know, your AoE and then your second step AoE to replenish your resource, whatever it is. So then now here's the super super decimate crit direct hit, and then I use Infuriate again here to refresh the buff. So takes away the buff, use Infuriate again, gives me the buff again, then I have it again, and both of those usage tick down. Yeah, tick down my Infuriate. Yeah, so pretty much that's how Infuriate works now, and that's how the super Fell Cleave works and the super Decimate works. So going back to the sheet, the opener that I came up with is more or less the same. You just start with a Storm's Eye, and then you get an Inner Chaos here because of the Infuriate that you popped after the Tomahawk. So then you do this here, you do Infuriate again, because this is your second charge. You do another Inner Chaos, because you don't want to have Inner Chaos with Inner Release. So I don't know if it's going to be worth holding this Inner Chaos. So basically, depending on raid buffs, you can actually shift this Infuriate down here and shift this Inner Chaos down here. And the reason why you can do it is because even though you used Infuriate, with all these Fell Cleave spam, your Infuriate isn't going to overcap on time, you know what I mean? Because for each Fell Cleave, you reduce it by 5 seconds. So it's not going to, basically you're not going to be wasting time here. I just put this here purely based on, because I thought the trick was going to be between 4 to 6 GCDs. It might not, but if it's not, if it's later, then it might be worth putting down here. Basically, this Infuriate and Inner Chaos spot is flexible. You don't have to use it right here, and you don't lose anything by using it later, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So you can take this Infuriate, put it here, and do the Inner Chaos here, or you can keep it here. I'm not sure yet, because obviously for raid buffs. But yeah, so anyway, so you do 2 Inner Chaos, then you just do your normal Inner Release Fell Cleave spam, and then it's pretty much just rage management. I do think though that Warriors management in Rage and Infuriate timing will be it will definitely be harder. I don't know by exactly how much, but I think it will be more difficult. And the reason why I say that I think it's going to be more difficult is because now that you can stack Infuriate twice, this changes a lot. Because what it means is you don't have to use Fell Cleave anymore at 6 seconds or 5 seconds. You can actually just keep letting it tick down. Because if it's at 3 seconds and then you use it, well, it'll just go to like, you know, 57 seconds or 58 seconds. You know what I mean? So I think the min-maxing of the rage or the gauge and Infuriate will be a lot more in depth than what it is now. And I think that is the hardest part of Warrior, is managing your rage and trying to not clip Infuriate, making sure you get as much under like Trick, making sure you get as many Fell Cleaves and like Rage Expenditure moves underneath rebuffs. So Warriors pretty much the same, but those small changes, I think, but those two small changes with Infuriate and the charging of Infuriate, basically just those two simple changes on Infuriate, they add a lot of depth to the class, I think. I could be biased though because I'm a Warrior fanboy and maybe I'm trying to make it out more than what it is, but I think it'll add a lot of depth, man. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. We'll see though. We'll see. But pretty much that sums up my rotations on tanks. And like I said, these are just what I came up with at the media tour. I didn't have too much time to play test or anything. Especially because I wanted to cover all four. But I feel pretty comfortable with the rotations that I came up with, and I think they're pretty close to what they should be. But who knows, man? Maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about. I don't know, but I feel pretty confident in them. But anyway, so that pretty much just sums up my rotation comparison and the CDs, the CD rotation, or I'm sorry, the CD comparison as well. If I was to, I guess if I was to rate the tanks, I'd say Warrior has the most personal shit. Paladin has the most utility. Gunbreaker, their utility is stronger than their mitigation, or at least I think so. I think Camouflage is a bit weak, and I think Super Bolide is a bit weak. Hopefully these see buffs. I think overall Gunbreaker's damage the potencies need to be buffed, but you know, want to mention again that the build that we played at the media tour was not the final build, and you know, everything is subject to change, so the potencies might be different. I think Dark Knight was fun to play. I like that resources are now more punishing, so I like that aspect. It's not quite as good as Heaven's Ward in my opinion. I still think Heaven's Ward was probably my favorite, but you know, I haven't got to play this yet, so I don't know. This could be my favorite, but I can say though that the job felt really fun. It felt more fun to me personally at the media tour than it does now, and the resource is like the resources, they mean more, or they will mean more. At least I think so. But as far as their CDs, I think Dark Mine. I think the nerf to Dark Mine was a bit unjustified. TBN is really powerful now. It's really powerful. I think Living Dead still needs to be changed, but I've always thought Living Dead should be changed. I think Dark Missionary should be changed as well. I think this either needs to be like 20 or 30% magic, or a shorter cooldown, maybe like 60 seconds. I don't know. 60-second raid utility might be too strong, but I just don't see the point of 15% magic when Gunbreaker has 15% all damage. I just don't see the point. Maybe the tooltip was wrong, or maybe I don't know. Like I said, this isn't the final build, so maybe, you know, maybe it's not. Maybe this is better. I don't know. Paladin is still really, really strong. Rampart, or Sheltron got buffed. Really, it's pretty good now. Hollow Ground's to Hollow Ground. Cover got nerfed. I think the nerf to Cover was justified. I think Cover's way too powerful right now. Passage, Intervention, Clemency, Veil, pretty much also the same. Still all really good. So I really like Sheltron. Really like the Paladin rotation. I mean, I know it's pretty much the same, but I really like the Super Holy Spirit, and I really like the Atonement. I think that's good. And yeah, Gunbreaker, like the ammo combo, that was fun to use. And Warrior, Just like I said, man, I'm biased. I'm a Warrior fanboy, so I'm always gonna like Warrior. But yeah, overall, I feel that the Shadowbringers, that the discrepancy between the tanks is going to be almost non-existent. I feel like they did all the tanks pretty well. I don't think that one tank is going to be specifically weak, as I felt in on Stormblood's release. I thought that they focused too much on Paladin and didn't really give the other two, Dark Knight and Warrior, much attention. But in Shadowbringers, I feel that then this is just based on what I've played, you know, what I've seen. I think that it's pretty good. I think it's pretty solid, and I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun with these jobs. They were fun when I played them, but like I said, I don't know. Maybe it's like maybe I thought it was extra fun because it was new or something, you know. So that may have had a factor in it. Maybe it's going to be boring and miserable. I don't think so, but I mean, you know, like I said, I only got to play it for a little while, so yeah, we'll see. But anyway, yo, thanks for listening to me rant here, and I think I'm gonna call it here. So I have a tooltip video up as well. I got like 95% of the tooltip, so apologies again that I missed some of them. But like I said earlier, I really wanted to play the game, and hovering over tooltips was pretty boring, and I was sitting on the edge of my seat like, dude, just hurry up, just hurry up, just hurry up. So I'll have a Google Doc or an Imgur of all the ones that I missed. I didn't miss very many, but anyway, yo, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you later. Peace.